Fela Kuti, that man, fight to finish. How about that? Yeah, America, then fight to finish. It's getting a little activism-y in here. WLPNOP Chicago 105.5 FM Lumpin' Radio News from the Service Entrance, the radio show. What's up, Chicago? How you doing? Yeah, cold. Been cold every day for the last 6 months. Come on, let's go. I'm tired. I need heat. This is utterly ridiculous. Joining me, the voice you're hearing in the background, joining me here in the beautifully I'm sounding like him. Oh no, it's rubbing off. In the beautiful new studios here at Lumpin' Radio.
It's gorgeous.
This is nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's wood.
Mm-hmm. Like you got wood trimming, you know what I'm saying? Neon lights.
This is what you want, man.
Multicolored sort of.
This is some comfortable
padded walls.
What? For sure. My man Jacoby Cochran is here. He is a writer, storyteller, poet, a award-winning host of CityCast Chicago. He has been on the ground for a while. I wanted him to come down today. I tricked him and said we would talk a bit about the stadium thing that's on CityCast. We will. But I want to talk about him because I think if you don't know who Jacoby Cochran is, you should know who he is. Jacoby Cochran joins us here in the studio. What's up, brother?
I appreciate you, man. It's good to see you.
It's good to see me. I mean you. No, I'm kidding.
We just linked up serendipitously at the honoring of Chicago's layest poet laureate.
Yes.
Maida Del Valle.
Yes.
And it was good to see you that day. You made this invitation, so I'm glad I was able to stop through.
Yeah, man. And I had Maida and Avery down here last week, and that was really cool.
I love their work.
Yeah, both of them mean a lot to me, and I'm glad that I was able to do that. And actually, not producing the show while I'm on it, but we're going to have Avery back to talk about Sophronia because I neglected to mention that Avery R. Young's opera is premiering at the Lyric in April.
Come on now.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
so
great to hear.
We will have the brother back soon, very soon, and we'll talk exclusively about that. But you've been doing your thing here in town for a while. You know, the Syracuse University thing is real. Everybody that goes to Syracuse ends up on the radio somewhere.
They do. Syracuse has a great communications program where there's broadcast, on camera. I went there to study communication and rhetorical studies. And so I was writing papers, trying to figure out, why do people say the things they say? What exists behind our language, underneath our sort of social conventions? And, came back to the city about a decade ago after graduating and pretty quickly threw myself into just storytelling. That's how I navigated the city. That's how I met new people in the city. That's how I expressed and sort of tried to figure out my own artistry and, just been doing that, plugging away at that for the last 10 years. It sort of got me to the place I am now. I
know you host The Moth. You have one of the best podcasts. I hope I don't get in trouble. One of the best podcasts in Chicago, CityCast Chicago, and we will definitely talk a little bit about this stadium nonsense. And what you said before the mics cut on, it's now got me going, that might not be such a good idea leaving. Because it'll say more about them than it does about where they're going, although where they're going says a lot about, yeah.
Exactly.
What is it about the art of storytelling and watching The Moth over the years and watching how people, how they spill, right? It's different than a poetry reading. It's different than, it's akin to a therapy session, but they're out there bearing their soul. So what is it, particularly in Chicago, I think we have a lot of great storytellers. What is it about the art of storytelling that attracted you?
That's such a good question. For me, it felt like the safest place to start exploring this sort of new relationship with the stage. I had a background in performance. I did theater in grammar school and high school, and I did speech throughout college and taught public speaking at the graduate school level. And when I got back to the city, I realized that, I do a little poetry and do a little comedy, but I wouldn't have called myself a stand-up or wouldn't have called myself a poet or wasn't necessarily going into improv or into theater. And storytelling was that creative space that allowed me to try a little bit of all of that. You see people up there doing what feels like dramatic monologuing. You see what feels like sort of in the moment stand-up comedy, you get a little bit of that poetic rhythm and flow from different storytellers. And so it started very selfishly about me, a place to try and figure out where my voice was, how I wanted to perform in the city. And then, the first place I went was the Moth, but then a few weeks later I went to Grown Folk Stories. I've been going back there over the last 10 years. And then, over the last 7 or 8, I've been hosting karaoke storytellers, and I've been to Story Lab and Story Jam, and this scene across the city, I've said, is one of the most kind and beautiful audiences to be in front of. They don't come with a lot of expectations or a lot of entitlement, and so you're able to go up there and explore the depths of yourself. I got back to the city of Chicago starting to ask myself real questions about what it meant to be from here. What were the things that I took for granted in this city? What were the things that I had sort of learned through osmosis? What did I think I knew about the city? But then I get back and realize that's just sort of one small bubble amidst 3 million other bubbles. And so storytelling also gave me just an excuse to go into a bunch of different neighborhoods, performing from Kusanya Cafe to the Den to Lincoln Hall to up in some old mansion in Edgewater to the Pullman National Monument. A place to just go into neighborhoods and to listen to the lived experiences of Chicagoans. And so before I was ever doing the podcast, I was already obsessed with Chicago history, but more importantly, the story of Chicagoans. And so I think we are damn good storytellers.
Because we got a story to tell, brother.
We're a city of immigrants, a city of migrants,
right.
a city of communities who had to build for themselves. And, I think in segregation, one thing that is lost is that interchange of stories. Like, let's hear one another's. And I think we're in a point now where we're really emphasizing what does it mean to listen to the other stories of Chicago. And I get a beautiful opportunity to do that.
You mentioned when the mic was off, 87th and Stone. Are you from around there?
Yeah, my grandparents lived like 3 blocks off of that and have since 1959.
Ooh.
Maybe.
I went to CBS.
Yeah,
I went to the V. Lived in a lot of neighborhoods here in Chicago. I'm sorry, they call them communities now. I lived in a bunch of community
areas.
Yes, in our city. And when I went to high school around there, 87th was, even when I was a child, 87th Street was so just like big. It's like, wow, this is crazy that all these people live around this. I wanted to make sure I shouted out the folks over on 87th, man, because...
And what's funny is coming up, and what I would tell people, even when I was like applying for CityCast some years ago, and they sort of asked me about my version of Chicago, like 87th was my that was my thoroughfare.
You can find everything
in the city, right? And so and as I got older, I realized for some that was 79th, or that was Milwaukee, or Lake, or Madison, or you know what the case may be. And so the older I got, I both held on to my Chicago even more and represented my Chicago even more, but I've really been able to put it in conversation with other people's, that's probably been the coolest part of these last few years, is getting to learn my own story, but getting to hear it alongside other people's.
With that in mind, you host CityCast Chicago. It is really one of the better podcasts that come out of the city that explores all kinds of different topics and really reaches... it gets you to ask questions about things. That's what I've always found interesting about it. It's not hit you over the head, but it's very much like, are you listening to the question? Well, how do you feel about that, right? The latest episode talks about stadiums. And are we building stadiums in Chicago correctly?
Yeah, this is an episode we got to do a couple of weeks ago. I was really... excited is the word that first came to mind, but I was, I highly anticipated this conversation. It was happening with the Chicago, some people from over at the Chicago Architecture Center who put together a study about how could we be building stadiums more equitably with more thought in mind moving forward. And what I learned throughout that conversation was very insightful.
talk to Lee Bay a lot. I have him on the show often. And one of the things that he and I agree upon is that if they wanted to, and they being the Chicago Bears, if they wanted to, they could build in the city.
Yes.
It would be south of where they are now, and the people who live around there will not look like their constituency, but they could build that way.
Yeah. The old Michael Reese Hospital site, Country Club Hills, just raised his hand before I say, hey, we're here for business.
I mean, Steelworks, you know, you could build. Why do you... it sounds like a rhetorical question, but it isn't. Why won't they explore any of that, you think?
I mean, if you ask them, they say they have. But I think, on the one hand, you spend, $300 million or whatever to buy the plot of land out in Arlington Heights. Your mind is already sort of made up that you think that's where your future exists. And given the concentration of wealth that exists out there, given, the suburbs that exist right near it, given the fact that they keep harping on the Metro line that runs directly into it, I understand why that has been in play for as long as it has. I agree. I think sites further south than Soldier Field could be very exciting for the city, could be very beneficial, could anchor some really prominent entertainment districts that could bring a lot of investment into often divested parts of the city. The reason they aren't looking elsewhere is, at the end of the day, money.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. And we were talking about the latest overtures from the state of Indiana, which initially it's like, well, it's Gary's close, Hammond's pretty close, the infrastructure is there. You don't have to worry about how they don't have to rebuild anything, because you can already go to Hammond pretty easily if you want to, and it's really close to Chicago. It's a border town. Yeah. It's super close. But they haven't talked to one person in Indiana about any of this. They have not made a move to ask any citizen, how do you feel about ... And I'm going to shut up because I've already been on a roll today about Trump. But they are very much a Christian nationalist, fundamentally Trumpy state. What do you think about all of that?
I'm of a few minds here, but let's sort of go through it chronologically. It's very clear that playing Arlington Heights against Chicago was not creating the type of momentum they wanted. State representatives, the governor, even with the mayor sort of going to bat very early in his term. Some people saying he went maybe overboard as a cheerleader for keeping the Bears in Chicago. At this point, I think people will call it, a good attempt at convincing their leadership to further consider Chicago, but playing them against one another, talking about the $2 billion plus they have to invest in the stadium, wasn't getting them the infrastructure promises they wanted, wasn't getting them pushed up the state legislators' agenda. And in my opinion, I think rightfully so. I think we are all right for being more critical, more hesitant towards writing checks for billionaire-owned teams that will reap the largest amount of benefits from these investments. Sure, we'll get maybe a Super Bowl and some more NCAA games, and we'll be able to utilize this year-round for mega concerts and mega events. But much of that profit is going to flow back to the team, and they are going to get the type of property tax relief that means that type of money isn't going to be directly flowing from their checkbooks back to Arlington Heights and sort of that broader area. I think we're right to be skeptical, given that, we have hotel taxes that are still paying off the spaceship, and sort of writing new checks for infrastructure improvements or supplementing a $1 billion stadium, I don't think is politically salient for our officials. And so when they originally pitched or repitched the move towards Northwest Indiana, my first thought was, wow, your timing continues to suck. You all don't give a damn about us. We're in the middle of one of the most magical seasons possible, on the doorstep of the playoffs, and you're like, knock, knock, knock.
Yeah.
Northwest Indiana come a-calling. And so my initial thought was bad timing, and then I went, again, the Arlington Heights versus Chicago play isn't working. The Arlington Heights versus Chicago versus Northwest Indiana. Actually, I don't feel overwhelmingly emotionally manipulated here. If I'm just thinking about how much time it would take me to get to the place, hey, you're closer to my mom's house.
Say that, right.
But as this thing has been pushed further through, and as they continue to sort of look us in the eyes and say, well, as they as the business leaders should, oh, this isn't about leverage. This is about trying to get the best deal. This is trying to, right? It was the Chicago Bears, then the Chicago Land Bears. Now it's the broader Chicago Land Bears, right? Whatever story you have to tell. And, what does it say that
the Chicagoland Northwest Indiana Bears?
Right. What does it say that, that they want us to sort of strip this down to a simple nickels and dimes situation? If they want to own their stadium, they're being offered this deal where Indiana may put up some of the money, may acquire the land, may give it to them at a great deal, may get all of this tax relief. What does it say that they want that to mean more, not only to the fan base, but to onlookers, when what it means to push that through over in Indiana, similar to the conversation happening in Missouri and Kansas, means completely bypassing public opinion? What does it mean that they have made no comment about the anti-trans legislation that's flying through, the legislation where local police and officials have to enthusiastically participate with ICE and Border Patrol agents on their violent campaign? What does it say that this is a state that's leading in anti-women's rights and healthcare access and anti-abortion legislation? What does it say that the book ban list is very high up on their priorities? What does it say that the Bears and other sports institutions, they want it to be sort of sans policy discussion when it's just about, oh, this is a good deal for us on the table, and it'll allow us to move up from having the smallest attendance in all of the NFL? The truth is, it's about so much more than that now, when it's our tax dollars on the line, when you're asking us to pour our money into a community that is not thinking about us in total. This conversation, as it gets more and more real, we're going to make it more and more real, and it gets bigger and bigger. And so what would it say about the Bears organization if, a strong arm of playing Chicago and Arlington Heights turns into a strong arm against Illinois and Indiana, and now you want to sanitize this conversation politically so that you can kind of move this thing through swiftly? Again, will anybody in Bears ownership have to be held accountable to that? Probably not. Will the Bears attendance be accountable to that? No, but for some of us that will matter.
I think that the next shoe to drop and all that is exactly what you brought up, though. The political leanings of the state juxtaposed to the political leanings of the McCaskey family.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have a problem selling Arlington Heights. They can sell that site to anyone. You can develop on it tomorrow. Whoever would buy it would be able to build the biggest casino in Illinois if they wanted to. I don't think that's it. But I do think that it got the attention of the governor, it got the attention of the state legislature, and even though I don't want to pay for it, and I believe the Bears could pay for all of it, this Indiana thing is not going anyplace. No. It's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks.
I think it'll get them some of the infrastructure spending that they've
been asking for, yeah. Because deep down, there's no way in the world that the Chicago Bears leave the lakefront, in my mind, ever. That they, well, maybe not stay on the lakefront, God knows, but stay in the city proper. But, to be continued. It's not over yet. They get an edge rusher and a safety and like another running back. And then, we can talk about that. Maybe another left tackle. We can talk about that. But the stadium thing, man, it bears watching because, again, the political leanings to me will say a lot. You can catch Jacoby Cochran on CityCast Chicago. You can go online, chicago.citycast.fm. And if you would like to learn more about the young man, you can go to Jacoby? That's not his name. Jacoby Cochran, talkingtoofast.com. Look, I've wanted to have you in here for a long time and get a chance to rap with you and to get people to know who you are if they don't already know who you are. It is an honor to have you on this show for me because it means a lot to be able to connect with a brother that is on it. And I am so happy for you and your success. And I really, 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 and I'm sincerely saying to you, best of it, man. Keep doing it. Don't stop doing this. Don't stop doing this. You are a very valuable part of the voices in our city, and I'm glad. I'm glad I know you, brother.
Hey, I'm here Monday through Friday as long as they'll have me. I appreciate you.
That's the kind of how I've been rolling for 50-something years. Thank you, man, for being on the show today. Really appreciate it. Jacoby Cochran, y'all, on News from the Service Entrance Radio Show. Oh, man, it's after 3 o'clock. It's WLPNLP Chicago, 105.5 FM, Lumpin' Radio. Remember Soul Train? Yeah, Soul Train. Great show. Great show. My sister was on that show. You've heard this story before. Here's The Sound of Philadelphia. Mother, father, sister, brother. The 3 Degrees. All of them together. News from the Service Entrance, the radio show.